G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War update for the 26th of July 2025. Now, I thought this was going to be sooner than later. Oh no, it's not the end of the war, folks, but the offensives have begun. Zelensky has started. Now, I'm not saying they're watching, but it definitely feels like it, like I announce movements before time, not because I know them, because that's what I feel that would be most logical. Remember, the most advantageous tactic is to achieve the most advantage from the least expenditure. Russia could achieve more, but the expenditure is much greater. Like, Russia can, in a short time, annihilate Ukraine, but then they have to spend the next 2 to 3 years rebuilding their stockpiles. Now, these stockpiles are meant for a 5 to 10 year war, not just with China, but anybody. But they can only, let's say, they expend enough to destroy Ukraine. But that leaves a tactical hole because they need more than you realize. Because don't forget, as time has marched on, air defenses are getting better. Missiles, more and more missiles have to be sent. Now, the only reason why Russia is able to overwhelm Ukraine is not because of the lack of missiles from America. Russia is just doing it better now. They don't assume they will always in the future. So before I begin, I'm your host, the author David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood of Cade, Pearl Games, Into the Hellsbound, and the Erotic Tales from the Empire. Yes, I know, most people don't announce who they are. Sure, it's up there, okay. It's just an old habit, I know. I should move with the times, right? Try to minimize how much of your time I use, and pretty much I think everybody knows what a QR code is. I'm going to try more efficient with your time as well as mine. But I really like to thank those who support the channel and invite you to support the channel through all my links in the link tree. You can buy my books, buy my merch, and of course join my Patreons. Now, the Ukraine war, the key to ending the Ukraine war, lies within Russia's key issues, not Ukraine's. Ukraine's feelings don't matter. They're losing. The longer they fight, the more they lose. That's it. Your feelings don't matter. Now, many think that Ukraine is going to be thrown to the wolves. That's, of course, the left bark. No, I don't think Europe's going to abandon Ukraine. I think Europe, at the last minute, is going to be a, what do you call it? Is it mea culpa? A come-to-Jesus moment, where Ukraine realises throwing Zelensky to the wolves is the only way to end this war. Well, Zelensky and his group. But this is a rare moment, but it does happen. I'm not saying the Russians died in Ukrainian custody because they were tortured or they were shot. I'm not going to make any accusations because I know that most POWs are captured because they are wounded. Okay? Most people are not captured intact. They're usually wounded or their positions overrun. And since Ukraine hasn't overrun any positions, but Russia has multiple times had failed offensives. That's not in dispute, okay? Pavosk, how many times have they failed in Pavosk? How many times have they gone into Pavosk and failed to hold ground? So I'm not saying anything about this photo. There's no proof that Ukraine executed those Russians. I know a lot of people are going to make barking noises. Again, that's been political. But we know Russia's advanced, and we know Ukraine often accuses Russia of only targeting and killing civilians. Now, military aid, and you think 1,000 weapons a day. Bro, that's ridiculous. But don't forget, these are drones, mostly. Russia has mostly been... Now, these are also talking about interceptor drones. Bro, Russia's been successful. Don't believe Zelensky. Don't believe the military aid is as effective as they claim it is. Nor is it as ineffective as Zelensky claims it is. Zelensky always wants more. And there's no way, really, effectively within the next 5 years to save Ukraine. Because they're dying faster than both Russia and China actually expected. Remember, folks, China pushed Russia into this war. And don't forget, initially, Russia was told, time and time again, play by the international rules, and this war will be over, Europe will take care of it. And they didn't. Biden stalled for time. They all stalled for time. Okay, and they all admitted it. But Ukraine is paying the price of the left. Now, President Trump is looking at secondary sanctions. This is where you sanction another country for dealing with Russia. Now, this is rare, but it has happened before. I just can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was on Fox Business. I was looking at the effects of tariffs, and they are starting... Russia is actually under the effects of tariffs. Right now, their growth could be far more than it currently is. Now, don't forget, you all hear about the bleating about we must protect Ukraine's borders. But bro, before you jump into the deep end, consider the following. Europe also made a peace deal with Russia for the pipeline, which would give Europe a discount on gas in return for peace. That deal wasn't honoured, and don't forget they sabotaged the pipeline in order to force another pipeline through, which also did not eventuate, as with many deals did not eventuate. And now we know from gas and oil discoveries that there isn't 400 years, there's 4,000 years of gas and oil. Right now, this is peak price. In the next 5 to 10 years, we should see the price stabilise, and we should see supply stabilise as the Ukraine war comes to an end, and we should see this decline of the Middle East continue. Now, European Union has until January 27. I think this is going to be extended. And they're going to negotiate a deal. They're not going to go ban Russia. They're going to negotiate a deal. And so is India. And so is America, Vietnam, and others. All going to negotiate over the gas and oil for between the Philippines, China, and that's going to be the big one. Because China, right now, is encroaching on Vietnam's rights, and the Philippines' rights, and other countries' rights. Ukraine is, of course, a distraction created by Xi, Mr. Tiananmen Square himself, in order to pretty much make sure that he bleeds the world of gas and oil to keep the price high so that his partners can subsidize China's exports, right? You pay a high price for gas and oil so China can pay a low price. Artificial, okay? Okay, if Iran's gas and oil wasn't subsidized, if it wasn't for all this welfare to Iran, it's all to destroy free markets in order for G to pick winners and losers, and the mullahs seem to think, bite your nose off to spite the face that Almighty God will, they're doing the bidding. We destroy the West. Oh, enemy of my enemy is my friend. Oh, wait a minute. Why is China stabbing us in the back? No, bro. Enemy of my enemy is not your friend. He's your abuser, okay? He's just your next abuser. Now, Iran had a very good position with America. A lot of Iranians today know this, and they are trying to work out how to fucking save the Middle East. And remember, the decline in the Christian population of the Middle East is directly proportionate to the decline of the Middle East, because it's an indication of the rise of fanaticism. And I think a lot of Muslims today, which is why while Muslim is growing as a religion mostly through birth, it is also the fastest. For every two Muslims born, one leaves. So you can imagine as that accelerates. So far, the Middle East is just too vast to actually, and North Africa, the Arab population there, sooner or later they're going to face an overwhelming war with the black population, simply because of black nationalism. And even though probably the Arab population settled North Africa first, this is probably well disputed, but bro, the Arabs are an offshoot of the Caucasians. We shouldn't want them to suffer. Most of the Arab populations, though, they've been invaded by their Arab brethren and mixed. So there's a war within itself, and so we're going to see another decade of tragedy, not because of the Ukraine war, but because of China's ambition. And Ukraine is just the beginning of those wars of ambition. So these tragedies are going to play out daily. And there's nothing I can do personally, and most people individually realize that there's nothing they can do personally. But collectively, if we raise enough voice and get enough awareness, we can put enough pressure to, I don't think we can eliminate war, but we can get enough people to, if we can eliminate even a few tragedies, Europe will come out of this unscathed, and the United States. Now Zelensky has launched an offensive. As you can see, they allege, and there's no reason to dispute it, that they have successfully kicked Russia out of one town. But remember, they've done this before, and their offensives in 24 hours to 48 hours later are squashed because they lack the manpower, and they are dealing with the fact that that's one offensive out of 148 combat encounters. And Russia can have up to 200 combat encounters a day, which means if they wanted to, they can throw 4 units at this and still not blink or be affected elsewhere. So we have attacks on Sumy, again, on the power grid. That's because most of the only things with power in Ukraine right now is, ta-da, air defenses. Alright, so again, Kharkiv hit. Why? Industry. okay, and forward logistics. Why was this area hit? Again, logistics. They're hitting industry, particularly the flow of goods down into this. Because, as I said, it appears Ukraine, they need to flood men and machines down this road to here and to here and to here and to here and to here, all to spread through here, because from somewhere in here they're going to have to bring in a push. Otherwise, Russia, as you can see, headed to here, as I said they would. Cut this off. That's what they're doing. Force Ukraine back to here. Well, they're going to cut this off, but up to here as they come down through here. Okay, they're going to squeeze Lyman to push back, force the Ukrainians back to here, and just bang, cauldron, and this will form the cauldron here, and this will come up and put all this into one big cauldron to eventually surround and strangle Klamosk. And that is probably the extent, probably not even going to be complete by the time, I mean, remember this is a big push, but as we go through the map, in most areas there's nothing to speak of, no major successes or movement on the map, which is dangerous to assume there's no fighting, or dangerous to assume the maps are accurate, because remember, there's a collapse. The only thing holding them back is the short and medium range artillery. They can deal with the long range rockets and have what's called acceptable losses. As you can see, they can be down here for weeks and then suddenly, boom, take more territory. And as you see, they've taken more territory here, still squeezing here, which again, it's a death trap, which they're slowly grinding down as they prepare for the siege of Kremenska. But before they do that, they need to bring up more men and machines to basically put all this under threat from heavy artillery bombardment. And that means probably up to this line. They probably want to clear as much of this as possible and probably bulge out so they can fire in a huge arc, which means this has to fall. This has to be under siege, so this has to pretty much steamroll within the next week. Put this under siege. Within a week, week or two, they need to be pushing through here. And they know all this area this is going to be soon a battlefield as men and machines, Ukrainians, I believe. This is why they've attacked here, is that Ukraine was preparing an offensive, as I suspected. And they will still continue, though, to try and, because without this fork in the cauldron, this line has reinforcements and two roads in, and plenty of maneuvering space for tanks and artillery and mobile rocket systems to make them hard to target and enable them to pull back and have reinforcements come in and pretty much cycle and circle around a replacement, reinforce, repair, etc. Whereas the Russians, longer supply lines, which is why I believe this may be cut through. And they may cut their losses at only taking half of these two or all of this. They cannot. I think it's going to be a little bit of each. I think they're going to take as much of this, probably down through here, cutting off this quarter. And it looks like they may only cut through here. Just to Zaporozhye, they may cut off. But they are looking to see, they are pushing through here, up through here. But you never know. They may pivot and take Kherson and lay Mykolaiv, which would be unacceptable to probably Europe and Ukraine. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. But it may be unacceptable, but what will they do about it is the real question. But now they keep saying 5 communities within a week. That is about the average. Now and again they'll do more, but they won't be reported. Sometimes there's also, like most of these communities, as you go here, we'll go here, we'll go here, we'll go here. What's the big one? As you can see, look at them, right? When they take communities like this, these little ones here, they don't get reported. And as you can see, some of these communities, like 1, 2, 3, they'll have one big name on them. And as you can see, they've taken half of this. I thought it would be the top half, but Ukrainians are basically, trying to keep the road open. But as you can see, when they take these little ones, they're often not named. Alright, so it's only the big names on the map. And as you can see, a lot of these communities are, like, you'll have a town with small communities around it, and Russia will take these 3, but it'll be probably that one they report, you know? It's the same as we go to down here. Okay. They've taken it, but it's not reported because it's been taken and retaken twice. You know, or we go down here, you know, remember when they were laying siege down here, you know, again, most of this, look, little towns, they probably didn't mean much to anybody other than the people there. And as we've seen, we see both Russia and Ukraine having such a widely different reporting on the war from the ground perspective. But 70% of this population are absolutely tickled pink. You cannot, if you think otherwise, I'm sorry for you, but I'm saying most of these people here are very welcoming and supportive of the Russians. They have an army of 350,000 on top of the 600,000 Russians. Most of them are providing security. Okay, or security and logistics support, which makes it very easy for the Russians to operate in a very not seen since war. I mean, this is like southern Germany welcoming the American troops in 1945, basically. They see them as liberators. They're no longer considering themselves German. They're considering themselves Europeans. Well, actually, Europe was a pipe dream of both the Nazis and Napoleon, probably even going further back to the Roman Empire. But as you can see, Russia gives a long list of damages. You can see it's averaging over 1,000 a day in most situations. Now, Ukraine is now bitterly divided. The pro and anti-Ukrainian, the pro and anti-Zelensky movement is split, and the graft watchdog is now the judiciary and the watchdogs of the judiciary and the political apparatus of Ukraine. The Specialized Anti-Prosecutor's Office is now the key focus. Zelensky wants it under his control, and this is the bridge too far, the straw that broke most Ukrainians. It is now widely reported in Ukraine, with other than in there's no other institution, no media. It is widely reported amongst Ukrainian social media that Zelensky has the entire towns where pro-Zelenskyites have been chased out of town. This is unheard of in Ukraine. But most see Zelensky now as just another Ukrainian leader, that he's a fuckboy. I know people get upset when I use the word, but he is. He's a fuckboy. They just see him as yet another corrupt Ukrainian politician. That everything about him is fake, phony, a media product. That he is not a man of the people, and he's not a servant of the people, that he is just another corrupt, ineffective politician, not a politician, a bullshitter, that he only serves the enrichment of those in power, and even the highest ranking Ukrainian officials are embroiled. Now, in Ukraine, earning $100,000 a year is jackpot, considering the average Ukrainian earns $5,600 a month. Okay, so $100,000, that's jackpot, bro. Okay, when most Ukrainians are on not even a tenth of that, a 20th. And remember, Ukrainians might earn thousands of pesos a month, 5,600 Ukrainian pesos a month. They're on 100,000 US dollars a month. So they're earning 20 times, because don't remember, the Ukrainian pesos like 100, like €1 gets you 100. It's ridiculous. It's a cent. It's worthless. Now, it's artificially propped up. I know. I'm not naive. I know the Europeans have propped up their economy with Russian money that they stole. But it's a long time in the making. But we have embezzlement in energy, drone production. We have Zelensky, who has stolen land off people. People have sold state secrets, not just to Europe, but to the world. Arms deals through India, buying Israeli arms from India to get around, which is weird. Why didn't you buy them from Israel? Why they bought from third parties? Because they're being laundered. Ukraine's only getting a cut. Okay? India buys the bulk of the arms and diverts some of it to Ukraine in return for paying the fees of Indians in I believe it's Indian students in Ukrainian universities. I believe this is pretty much Zelensky is the devil. Say no to corruption. All this, Zelensky's the devil. Like, his excuse is Russian influence. Every excuse, everything they keep claiming is Russian influence. Even the investigators are saying, they've been accusing the investigators of stealing state secrets, although they do have access to that. They're bookkeepers, right? But remember, every time they investigate Zelensky's inner circle, the security forces of the Ukrainian secret police arrest them, saying, you're selling state secrets. Who? Because they're reporting Zelensky's corruption to Europe. Remember, Europe is not a formal ally. It is only a guarantor. It is... Zelensky pretty much has a legal standing to say, if you tell Europe a state secret, that's a crime. Because technically he's correct. But they're guarantors. You have an agreement to divulge this information. But Zelensky hasn't codified this into law. He keeps wanting to resolve issues. The only issue he wants resolved is in his favour. Every time you hear Zelensky talking about wanting to resolve issues, the only issue is him not accepting. He's a sore loser. He cannot accept when he doesn't get his way. Initially, that sounds to most people great. He's an achiever, try and try again. But then when you dig into the depths of it, aren't there situations where you have to accept that you're not getting your way? What, you think that, murder's illegal, let's keep trying to make it legal. You think that's a good thing? You're operating in absolutes without morality. And that's what Zelensky is. He's an absolute without morality. And now we have a threat to world security because Zelensky, I don't think personally or whatever, but I think the latest round of Ukrainian drone attacks came close, or believed to become close, that there's a plan, allegedly, by a general in Europe that, now he's speaking, I think, hypothetically, Kaliningrad, one of Russia's integral military camps, part of Russia's military doctrine, that if there was an encroachment or an attack on it, Russia sees it as necessary to guarantee the security of Kaliningrad. He's not speaking about attacks on it, but he was just saying that if they were, he was saying that they had sufficient capabilities, which is basically saying to Russia, if they don't give up in Ukraine, they're going to destroy Kaliningrad. That's a huge, stupid mistake. That's idiotic beyond idiotic. You don't walk up to... But people do this because terrorists have nothing to lose. But when you're a general, you have everything to lose, and you should really, really think before you speak. But he didn't, and I think this comes down from the top, and this is a shame. But the Pentagon really, really hates Trump. We know this, okay? I think, and of course, Have I not been saying this for a long time? Zelensky's days are numbered. He is the ultimate loser. Now, next DOD analyst says it, suddenly everybody's listening to him. I've been saying this for a long time. Russia holds all the cards. Zelensky's got nothing to play with. All he can do is play games and pay lip service to Trump. But eventually, Trump is going to call him out. What does Zelensky want? Everything. He's a unfair negotiator. Zelensky wants everything in his favour. He wants Trump to kiss his ass, go into Russia, kill Putin, hand all his territory to Zelensky and say, here it is for free, my friend. All your debts paid. We'll rebuild Ukraine. Would you like a limousine? Would you like some prostitutes? Would you like some coke? What do you want? Everything. And Zelensky isn't that. It's just such an immature person that, he thinks he deserves everything. But fomenting internal strife, and eventually he will get executed. But he thinks he has the last laugh because, I got to be president, you weren't. That's like saying, I was picked for president of Glee Club. And I had a few years of partying. It was all worth it. Bro, your kids are going to live in hiding for the rest of their lives. Your circle of friends, they're all going to be dead. Because it ain't just Zelensky that's going to die. It's all it's all the people around him. Right now, the Russians know that Zelensky's not a valid leader, but they may, and he's expired operating under martial law, but he may have enough legitimacy with the Ukrainian courts and if it's ratified by the Ukrainian parliament, then he wants to be the signature on the. He wants to secure his future as the dictator of Ukraine, and the all focus on Ukraine. He's the ultimate narcissist. But ultimately, his days are numbered. And when it comes to an end, it will not be pretty. It'll be Mussolini's. I reckon the only way it's going to happen is that it'll be Mussolini style. Partisans, anti-corruption, all the people that Mussolini pissed off all get together and run him down and hang him by piano wire. Basically, Zelensky knows this. That's why he's never in Ukraine and never alone. And that's why he's got the British Special Services protecting him and he's hiding out in a bunker in Poland. He flies in with the media and he flies out with the media every day. Everybody knows Zelensky doesn't stay in Ukraine because his days are numbered. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And as always, I ask for your support. You can support me on Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, which you'll find in the description below, in my profile, or scan the QR code on the screen right now. Please and thank you. I appreciate any and all support. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.